Hey guys, welcome to day 5 of the 2018 Kickstart Challenge. We're nearly at the end, we've nearly made it. As always, if you haven't got today's workbook, jump over to caramiles.com, you'll be able to download your copy there. Today we are looking at where to next. We're going to start mapping out what it is that you want to achieve. So we've already looked at where you would like to be in 12 months' time. But today we're going to really drill down and turn that into actions. So if you haven't already downloaded your workbook, go and do it now and then pop back over here. If you have your workbook handy, I'd suggest that you open it up today and flick open to the first page where you've got some room to think about your goals for the next 12 months. So you might even like to whip back over to day 2 and check out what you wrote there. And then think about, for those 12-month goals, where do you want to be for 3-month periods? So where would you like to be with those goals by the 1st of May, the 1st of August, the 1st of November, and then the 1st of January 2019? So have a bit of a think, where would you like to be in order to make sure that you are tracking along nicely to achieve your 12-month goals? Take a moment to jot those down. You can hit pause if you like, if you're watching the replay of this video. And just take a moment to think about where it is that you need to be by May, August, November in order to be hitting those goals by the 1st of January next year. While you're jotting that down, I'd like for you to think about or to learn a bit about goal setting. So when we think about goals, some people use the acronym of SMART goals. So specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-framed goals. So I'm going to talk you through that process now. So first of all, we start with we want our goal to be specific. So that means, what is the goal? How are you going to get it done? What do you need in order to get it done? When will you get it done? Where will you need to be? Get as clear and specific as you can so that you are able to tick off that goal so you know when it's done. If we have airy-fairy goals that we don't really know whether we've done them or not for the week or the month, then it's very hard to evaluate whether we've really met that goal by the end of the year. It's also really hard to prioritize it and to kind of factor it in or pop it into your diary to make sure that you're hitting that goal. So for example, if your goal was to be running a marathon by the 1st of January next year, you might like to think about, what does your training need to look like? What goals would you need to be, or where would you need to be at by the 1st of May, the 1st of August, November, in order to then be running a marathon by January next year? What would your training need to look like? What would your eating need to look like? What are all of the things that you would need to factor in? And what are the landmarks that you would need to be hitting on those dates in order to be tracking to make it to your goal? We want your goal to be measurable. So what concrete evidence will you have that you've achieved your goal? Break down your goal so that you can measure it. So for running a marathon, for the next month or the next 3 months, it might be that you need to run a certain number of times per week, and it might be that you need to spend a certain length of time running on each run that you do, or perhaps you would do it by distance. But with that, whichever example you choose, you would be able to tick that off and say, yes, I know that I've run 5 times this week, 3 times this week, whatever it is, or however many kilometers it is, however many minutes you want to set for yourself. So trying to break your goal down so that it is measurable, so that you know that at the end of the week or 3 months, you've ticked it off, you've achieved that goal. So talking of achieving goals, that is the next dot point. So we've got specific, measurable, achievable. So we want to think about, do you actually have the resources to achieve your goal? And is it actually feasible? Is it a achievable goal, a realistic goal? Is it a goal that you are actually passionate and driven to achieve? Because if we set goals for ourselves that we're actually not that interested in, we're unlikely to achieve them. We won't have the motivation to get there, to put in the work, the time, the effort that's needed in order to tick off that goal. We want to think about, is your goal relevant? Is it worth the effort and the resources that you need to put in to get there? So is it moving you in the right direction that you want to go in with your life overall? Is it in line with your values? You might like to think back to some of the earlier workbooks and days and think about what it is that you put down for what you want your life to look like, the kind of person that you would like to be. Is this goal really in line with that? If it's not, then maybe we need to revise your overall goal. And the last thing that I'd like you to do is put a time frame on your goal. So when will you have your goal done by? How often will you do it? So we've already kind of touched on that with when we're talking about running a marathon. But making sure that if it's a task that maybe is a bit wishy-washy, maybe it's contributing on social media. Maybe you want to make it time bound. So maybe you need to lock in a certain amount of time every day, every few days, once a week, in order to achieve and work towards that goal. Excuse me. So think about a time frame. Again, this helps to make your goal tick-offable. So we want to make your goal as clear, as specific as you can so that you know when you've done it. Otherwise, we can spend loads of time working towards our goals, but actually some of our activities are not being super productive and really moving us kind of closer and closer to the goal. They might be helping us circle around and help us feel like we're moving in the direction, but they're not really helping us to tick it off. So just a few other pointers when we're thinking about goals. Make sure that you don't have any dead man goals. So make sure that your goals are action focused. They're about you moving up towards something and not away from something. So if a dead person could do whatever your goal is better than you, we need to mix it up. So thinking about stopping doing something, or thinking about not doing something. So for example, perhaps not eating sugar, not going for a run, or that wouldn't be a goal, but not doing something, not smoking. We want to really work towards achieving something. So it might be about cutting down the number of cigarettes that you're smoking. It might be about eating healthier and making better food choices. So it might be about eating vegetables 3 times a week or 5 times a week. It can be whatever you like, but we need to make sure that we're working towards something, not working away from something. Checking in, making sure that your goals are meaningful. And you might even like to do some journaling or some free writing on what it would mean to you if you achieved these goals. This will really help you to check in and think about why it is you want to achieve these goals and give you some extra motivation to really go for it. So, check in with the goals you've written down and ask yourself, how will you know when you've achieved your goal? What extra resources will you need? And why do you want to achieve this goal? Check that you've got a time frame. And then you're good to go. So on page 4 of the workbook, you've got some space to write down what is your goal and then also those other points. So how will you know when you've achieved it? What extra resources do you need? And why you want to achieve the goal, as well as popping in a time frame there too. So you can write this out as many times as you need for as many goals as you've got and you're working towards achieving. And you can also use this template as something that is for a big overall goal, as well as something that's smaller and more specific. So for example, thinking about a 12-month goal is going to be much bigger and have many more components than something that is smaller and you plan to get done in the next week. So you might even like to think about and use page 5 here to think about and brainstorm all of the different parts of your goal. So you might like to take a 12-month goal here and to brainstorm all of the steps that you need to take in order to achieve that goal. So you might find that from these steps, you're able to create many more smaller goals that you can then get done in a day or a week or a month. So take some time, again, hit pause if you need to, and check in, break it down, map out all of the little tiny steps that you need to get done in order to achieve your goal in 2018. And then once you've done that, you can repeat that for each and every goal or landmark that you've got. So really try and break things down into as smaller chunks as you can get them into. And that way you can then create smaller, more achievable goals that will help move you towards your 12-month goal. But you don't need to look quite so far ahead. When we're looking 12 months ahead, it's so much easier to put things off until tomorrow. Whereas if you're able to break things down into, I need to get this done this week, it will help you to move you towards that 12-month goal. But it's a bit more time limited and it will help you stay focused. So we're going to pick up on this again tomorrow. So if you haven't already got today's workbook, it's still online. So jump over to caramiles.com, download it, map out your 3 monthly goals and start to break down and brainstorm what the individual steps are for each of those goals. And until then, until tomorrow, your challenge is to repeat those goal setting steps and get some goals down for the next 12 months. All right, see you tomorrow, guys.